Have you ever looked at your life and suddenly felt like you are no longer the same person you used to be? Things that once made you happy no longer satisfy you. Certain people are slowly disappearing from your life. You are becoming more comfortable with silence, more aware of your flaws, and strangely less interested in proving yourself to others. Even your trials feel different now. You still hurt, you still struggle, but somewhere inside, you are beginning to see life through different eyes. You may think you are losing something. You may think Allah is closing doors, taking people away, or making your life more difficult. But what if something deeper is happening? What if Allah is not simply changing your circumstances, but changing you? What if the discomfort you are experiencing is slowly breaking your attachment to the things that were never meant to become your source of peace? Ibn Arabi's spiritual teachings point toward a profound reality. The journey toward Allah is not only about what you gain, but also about what you are gradually freed from. The ego begins losing its control. Your attachment to people's approval begins weakening. Your trials begin revealing lessons you could not see before. And slowly, your heart begins turning away from the temporary and toward the one who never changes. So before you assume that this strange season of your life means something has gone wrong, pay attention. Because some of the things confusing you right now may actually be signs that your heart is being transformed. And if you recognize these signs in yourself, perhaps Allah is changing you in ways you have not yet understood. You no longer find peace in the things that once distracted you. One of the first signs that Allah may be changing you is that the things that once consumed your attention slowly begin losing their power over your heart. The entertainment, conversations, habits, and distractions that once felt satisfying may suddenly leave you feeling empty. You may still enjoy worldly things, but something inside you has shifted. You are beginning to realize that what once occupied your mind cannot necessarily nourish your soul. This does not mean that worldly pleasures are automatically wrong. The deeper change is that your heart begins recognizing that temporary things cannot provide permanent peace. In Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective, the heart's journey toward Allah involves becoming more aware of what truly satisfies it. As your heart awakens, you may begin searching for something deeper, without even knowing exactly what you are looking for. What feels like emptiness may actually be detachment from what was distracting you. Allah may be teaching you to recognize the difference between what keeps you busy and what brings you closer to Him. When remembrance begins feeling more valuable than distraction, and inner peace becomes more important than constant stimulation, your priorities are changing. Perhaps you are not losing interest in life. Perhaps Allah is teaching your heart to seek its peace from Him rather than from the war. Allah begins removing people and attachments. You thought you needed another sign that Allah may be changing you is that certain people, relationships, and attachments begin losing their place in your life. Someone you once depended on may become distant. A relationship you desperately wanted may no longer work. An opportunity you thought was essential may disappear, leaving you confused about what happened. At first, you may see only the loss, but sometimes Allah uses these changes to reveal where your heart had placed too much dependence. This does not mean that every person who leaves was bad, or that every loss is automatically a sign from Allah. But difficult separation can teach you something important. People can be a means of comfort, but they were never meant to become the foundation of your heart. Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective reminds us that everything created ultimately depends upon Allah. When an attachment becomes stronger than your reliance upon Him, losing it can expose a dependence you did not realize you had. Perhaps you were afraid of losing that person because you believed you could not be happy without them. Perhaps you were holding on to a specific outcome because you believed your future depended upon it. Then Allah allowed it to change, and slowly you discovered that what you thought you could not live without was not your source of life. Sometimes Allah changes your surroundings because He is trying to change your heart, teaching you to love what He gives without forgetting. Your ego starts losing the battles it once won. One of the deeper signs that Allah is changing you is that you begin seeing your own ego more clearly. Things you once justified now make you uncomfortable. You notice your need for attention, your desire to always be right, your reaction to criticism, and how deeply you depend on people's approval. Instead of constantly defending yourself, you begin questioning yourself. You become more willing to admit when you are wrong, apologize without feeling weak, and accept correction without immediately becoming defensive. In Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective, the journey inward requires becoming aware of the self and its illusions. The nafs wants recognition, control, and importance. But as the heart turns toward Allah, these desires can gradually lose their grip. You may still struggle with them, but you begin recognizing the struggle instead of blindly. Your ego starts losing the battles it once won. One of the deeper signs that Allah is changing you is that you begin seeing your own ego more clearly. Things you once justified now make you uncomfortable. You notice your need for attention, your desire to always be right, your reaction to criticism, and how deeply you depend on people's approval. Instead of constantly defending yourself, you begin questioning yourself. You become more willing to admit when you are wrong, apologize without feeling weak, and accept correction without immediately becoming defensive. In Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective, the journey inward requires becoming aware of the self and its illusions. The nafs wants recognition, control, and importance. But as the heart turns toward Allah, these desires can gradually lose their grip. You may still struggle with them, but you begin recognizing the struggle instead of blindly following it. That awareness is itself a form of transformation. The greatest change is not that your ego suddenly disappears. It is that your ego no longer controls every decision. You become less concerned with proving yourself and more concerned with becoming sincere before Allah. You can do good without needing praise, accept being misunderstood without constantly defending yourself, and let go of the need to be seen as important. When this begins happening, an old version of you is slowly losing its control, and your heart is becoming more humble, more sincere, and more aware of Allah. You begin seeing your trials differently. One of the clearest signs that Allah may be changing you is that your relationship with hardship begins to change. The trial may still hurt, the disappointment may still feel heavy, and you may still ask Allah to remove what is difficult, but something inside you becomes different. Instead of only asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this experience teaching me?" You start realizing that a painful season does not automatically mean Allah has abandoned you. Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective encourages a deeper awareness of how limited human perception can be. You see what is happening now, but Allah knows what you cannot see, what lies ahead, and what consequences may come from something you desperately wanted. A closed door can feel like rejection when you cannot see what is behind it. A delay can feel like punishment when you do not understand its wisdom. As your heart changes, you begin trusting Allah even when you cannot understand His decree. This does not mean becoming passive or pretending that pain does not matter. You still make dua, take action, and seek solutions, but you stop allowing every difficulty to convince you that your life is going wrong. You begin seeing trials as opportunities to develop patience, humility, trust, and dependence upon Allah. Sometimes Allah changes the situation, and sometimes He changes you while you are still inside the situation. And when you eventually look back, you may realize that the hardship you wanted to escape was also the experience that brought your heart closer to Him. Silence starts feeling different. Another sign that Allah may be changing you is that silence begins to feel different. You may start becoming less dependent on constant entertainment, endless conversations, social media, and outside noise. Instead of feeling the need to fill every quiet moment, you begin appreciating solitude and reflection. You may find yourself thinking more deeply about your life, your intentions, your relationship with Allah, and the direction in which your heart is moving. What once felt like loneliness can slowly become an opportunity to reconnect with yourself and with your Creator. Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective emphasizes awareness of the heart and the signs of Allah within existence. That kind of awareness requires stillness because a heart constantly surrounded by noise can struggle to recognize what is happening within it. In quiet moments, you may begin noticing your weaknesses, your attachments, your fears, and the desires that previously controlled you. You may also begin finding greater peace in dhikr, dua, reflection, and simply being present before Allah. This does not mean that you must withdraw from people or abandon the world. It means that your heart no longer needs constant noise to feel complete. You become comfortable being alone without feeling abandoned, and you begin discovering that silence can reveal things that distraction was hiding. Sometimes Allah quiets your surroundings so that you can finally hear what your heart has been trying to tell you. that the peace you were searching for everywhere else was always meant to lead you back to Him. You start caring more about who you are before Allah than who you are before people. One of the most powerful signs that Allah may be changing you is that your concern slowly shifts from how you appear before people to who you actually are before Allah. There was perhaps a time when people's opinions carried enormous weight in your heart. You wanted to be respected, understood, accepted, admired, and recognized. You thought carefully about how others perceived you, and when someone misunderstood you, criticized you, rejected you, or failed to appreciate your efforts, it could disturb your peace for days. But as the heart begins to change, something becomes different. You still care about people, you still value good relationships, and you still appreciate respect, but their opinions no longer have the same authority over your inner world. You begin realizing that the person you are trying so hard to prove yourself to may not even know the reality of your heart, while Allah knows everything about you. This realization can completely transform the way you live. People see your appearance, but Allah knows what is behind it. People hear your words, but Allah knows the intention that produced them. People may see you helping someone, praying, giving charity, speaking kindly, or appearing patient, but Allah knows whether your heart was seeking His pleasure or secretly seeking recognition. People may see your mistakes and judge you by them, while Allah knows the struggle that brought you to repentance. People may never understand the battles you fight privately, but Allah knows every weakness, every temptation, every sincere effort, and every moment when you tried to choose what was right, even though nobody would have known if you had chosen differently. When this awareness becomes real, you begin to understand that your reputation before people is temporary, while your reality before Allah is what truly matters. This is where sincerity begins to become more important than appearance. You may start doing things that nobody will ever know about. You may make dua for someone without telling them. You may give quietly without wanting your name attached to it. You may wake up when nobody is watching and speak to Allah about the things you cannot explain to anyone else. You may begin correcting a weakness without announcing that you are changing. You may choose to forgive someone even though nobody will praise you for it. These private actions can become more meaningful to you than public recognition, because your heart is slowly learning that an action does not become valuable because people notice it. Its value comes from the sincerity with which it is offered to Allah. Ibn Arabi's spiritual thought places great importance on the inner reality of the human being and on the way the heart perceives its relationship with Allah. The deeper spiritual journey is not simply about building an impressive outer identity. It is about allowing the inner self to become more truthful. This is difficult because the ego loves appearances. It wants to be known as wise, spiritual, successful, generous, strong, or righteous. It wants people to have a particular image of you, and once that image becomes important, you may begin protecting it more than you protect the condition of your heart. You may become more concerned about looking like a good person than actually becoming one. But when Allah begins changing you, this becomes increasingly uncomfortable. You begin asking yourself a much more serious question. Who am I when nobody is watching? That question can expose things that the ego would rather keep hidden. You may discover that you were sometimes kind because you wanted appreciation, patient because you wanted to appear mature, generous because you wanted admiration, or religious because you wanted people to respect you. This realization can be painful, but it is also valuable because recognizing a problem is the beginning of correcting it. Instead of becoming proud of your worship, you become afraid of losing sincerity within it. Instead of assuming that every good action proves your spiritual progress, you begin asking Allah to purify your intention. You start understanding that the greatest danger is not always doing nothing good. Sometimes the danger is doing something good while secretly becoming attached to the praise that comes from it. As this transformation continues, you may become less interested in explaining yourself. You stop feeling the need to respond to every misunderstanding. You realize that not everyone needs to know your reasons, your intentions, your struggles, or your sacrifices. There is a strange freedom in knowing that Allah already knows the truth. If someone misunderstands you, you do not have to destroy your peace trying to correct their perception. If someone does not recognize your effort, you do not have to force them to appreciate you. If someone receives the credit you thought belonged to you, you begin learning that Allah saw the effort, even if people did not. This does not mean allowing injustice or refusing to defend yourself when necessary. It means that your emotional stability no longer depends completely upon controlling how other people see you. You also begin becoming less impressed by appearances in other people. When you become aware of the difference between outer image and inner reality within yourself, you become more careful about judging others. Someone may appear extremely successful while secretly struggling. Someone may appear ordinary while carrying a heart full of sincerity. Someone may have made serious mistakes and yet be sincerely returning to Allah. Someone may receive enormous praise from people while privately struggling with intentions that nobody sees. This awareness creates humility because you realize that you do not have access to the complete reality of another person's heart. Allah does. You begin leaving ultimate judgment to Him while focusing more seriously on the condition of your own heart. And this is where your relationship with worship can become deeper. Salah stops being only something you perform because you are supposed to perform it. You begin wanting to stand before Allah with a heart that is actually present. Quran stops being merely words you recite, and you begin asking what those words are revealing about you. Dhikr becomes more than repetition because you begin realizing how quickly the heart becomes distracted. Repentance becomes more sincere because you are no longer only asking Allah to remove the consequences of your mistakes. You are asking Him to change the part of you that keeps returning to them. You begin caring less about whether your spirituality looks impressive and more about whether it is transforming your character. This shift can also change the way you respond to success. When people praise you, you become more cautious because you understand how easily praise can feed the ego. You may appreciate kind words, but you do not allow them to define your worth. When people criticize you, you become more thoughtful because you no longer automatically assume that criticism is an attack. You ask whether there is something useful hidden inside it. Sometimes the criticism is unfair. Sometimes it is based on misunderstanding, and sometimes it exposes something you genuinely need to correct. A heart that is becoming sincere does not automatically accept every criticism, but neither does it automatically reject every criticism simply because it hurts. Eventually, you begin living with a different kind of awareness. Before making a decision, you may ask not only, will people approve of this? But also, will this bring me closer to Allah or further away from Him? Before speaking, you may think about whether your words are necessary, truthful, and beneficial, rather than whether they will make you look intelligent. Before pursuing something, you may question whether you genuinely want it or whether you simply want the status that comes with possessing it. Before celebrating an achievement, you may remember the one who made the ability, opportunity, and circumstances possible in the first place. Your attention begins moving from the audience around you toward the one who has always known you completely. This is one of the quietest forms of transformation because the world may not notice it at all. In fact, people may think you are becoming less ambitious, less concerned, or less interested in proving yourself. But internally, something much stronger may be developing. You are becoming less dependent upon human approval and more anchored in your relationship with Allah. You are learning that you do not have to be admired to have value, understood to have purpose, or praised to know that your effort matters. You are learning to do what is right even when nobody applauds, to remain sincere when nobody notices, and to continue walking toward Allah even when nobody understands why. Perhaps this is why Allah sometimes changes the way people see you before changing the way you see yourself. He may allow you to experience being misunderstood so that you stop depending upon constant explanation. He may allow your efforts to go unnoticed so that you discover whether you were doing them for Him or for people. He may take you through seasons where nobody praises you so that your heart learns to work without applause. He may remove certain forms of recognition because they were quietly becoming more important to you than they should have been. And eventually, something inside you becomes peaceful. You no longer need everyone to know your story. You no longer need everyone to understand your intentions. You no longer need everyone to approve of your choices. You simply want Allah to know that you are sincere. That is a profound change in the heart, because when the pleasure of Allah becomes more important to you than the approval of people, you become much harder to manipulate, much less dependent upon praise, and much more capable of remaining steady when the world does not respond the way you hoped. You begin realizing that people can give you attention, but they cannot give your heart ultimate worth. They can praise you, but their praise cannot guarantee your sincerity. They can reject you, but their rejection cannot remove your value before Allah. They can misunderstand you, but they cannot change what Allah knows about you. Your identity no longer has to be built from the opinions of people because your heart is learning to return to the one who knows you completely. And perhaps that is one of the clearest signs that Allah is changing you. You stop living primarily to be seen by the world and begin living with the awareness that you are already seen by Allah. The world may never notice the transformation, but Allah knows every step of it. Conclusion. Maybe you came into this video thinking that something was wrong with your life. Maybe you have been questioning why certain things no longer satisfy you, why some people have disappeared, why Allah allowed certain doors to close, or why you have started feeling different from the person you used to be. But perhaps the real question is not, why is my life changing? Perhaps it is, what is Allah changing within me? If you are becoming less attached to distractions, less dependent on people's approval, more aware of your ego, more patient with your trials, more comfortable with silence, and more willing to surrender what you cannot control, then pay attention to what is happening inside your heart. We cannot claim with certainty that every difficulty is a direct sign from Allah, but we can examine its fruits. If the experience is bringing you toward prayer, repentance, humility, sincerity, patience, and greater dependence upon Allah, then do not waste the lesson. Sometimes Allah changes you before He changes your circumstances. He changes what you desire before He gives you what you asked for. He removes an attachment before giving you something deeper. He allows silence so you can hear what constant noise was hiding. He exposes your ego so you can stop being controlled by it. He allows you to experience uncertainty so you can discover what genuine Tawakkul feels like. And one day you may look back at the person you used to be and realize that the things you once considered losses were actually turning points. The closed doors taught you trust. The loneliness taught you dependence upon Allah. The disappointments taught you patience. The silence taught you reflection. The rejection taught you that your worth was never determined by people. And the things you could not control taught you to place your heart in the hands of the one who controls everything. So do not be afraid of every change. Do not assume that every uncomfortable season means Allah has abandoned you. Sometimes the version of you that is disappearing is the very version that needed to disappear. Perhaps Allah is not taking your life apart. Perhaps He is taking apart the attachments, illusions, and weaknesses that were keeping your heart from returning completely to Him. And maybe when you finally understand what He was doing, you will realize that the greatest blessing was not that Allah changed your circumstances, it was that Allah changed you. If this message spoke to something you are going through, take a moment tonight to turn toward Allah and ask Him to purify your heart, strengthen your faith, and guide every change in your life toward what pleases Him.